We live in a world that has never been so dichotomized. You're either in the hall of fame or in the hall of shame. And if you have done something that is impactful, that is influential, that has a long-lasting impact to the community that you're living in, most likely you will be in the hall of fame. But don't think you'll be able to stay forever. It only takes 1 or 2 acts of wrongdoing. It will be enough to get you out there. So for some people, they might have done something really substantial, or they might have some wrongdoings over a period of time, repeatedly doing it, and they will be in the hall of shame after. This is the world that we are living in. You're either in one or the other. And once you're in the hall of shame, it's really difficult to get out. There's almost no return pathway for anyone to get out of that. Now, in our generations, there are quite a few big-ticket guilt that will bring you into that hall of shame. So you look at the news, you see things like child exploitation, relationship abuse, sexual abuse. These are the big-ticket guilts. If someone has done it, you almost go into that hall of shame straight away. And there's no pathway to return. And that's the solution in the world that we are living in. Once you're there, you'll be there forever. Now, for those people, before they committed those kind of stuff, they might live a high-profile life. But after that, they most likely will have to live a low-profile life, which is better known as hiding in today's language, isn't it? So the Bible actually has a lot of tragedies similar to what I just said. Plenty of exploitations happening in the Bible. And that has a lot to do with people committed sins. But the difference is, in the Bible, for those people who have entered the hall of shame, there is a pathway to return. And that pathway is through Jesus Christ. He died on the cross, opened that pathway so people can return to God. So people can come off that hall of shame and become the children of God again. So this is what I want to talk about this morning. But before we actually look into the book of Micah, I do want to look at, what is actually guilt and shame? What is the difference? What are they actually? Guilt and shame, they were born to the world at the same time. You look at Genesis, this is what you see. In Genesis chapter 3, so Eve took the fruit from the tree of good and evil. She ate it, and then she gave it to her husband Adam, who also ate it. And then they have to make coverings from themselves. So since they committed that wrongdoing, they realized they were naked. So obviously there is something shameful there happening. That's why they have to cover themselves. And then they were hiding. So they need to hide from God. The reason behind is they know they have done something wrong, and they were afraid. When God asked Adam, "Where are you?" he answered, "I heard you in the garden. I was afraid because I was naked." So you see, guilt and shame, they were born to the world together as a package. They come together. So what is guilt? Well, guilt is more to do with the doing, wrongdoings. So guilt can be quantified. So you can have like 1 count of murder, 2 counts of stealings, and it can be easily put into some quantity, how much you have done. Now for Eve, it's 2 counts here. So she ate the fruit and passed it to her husband to eat. For Adam, it's also 2 counts. He ate the fruit, and he blamed it's God gave him his wife that caused him to eat the fruit. So there's 2 counts. So what is shame? Well, shame is more to do with the person being, how you perceive yourself. So you might feel shameful. You might feel because of what you have done, you feel guilty. You feel ashamed of what you are doing. You feel yourself is useless or worthless. Now, that being will not be, people outside you will not be able to see until it is presented in the form of a behavior. So, for example, in the case of Adam and Eve, they feel shame. what they done is they make covering for themselves and they hide from God. So they are behavior that can present our shame, but it's something inside that you cannot quite see. Now, and the story of Adam and Eve didn't actually stop there. So imagine, how are they going to explain to their children, their grandchildren, and their great-grandchildren why they're out in the wilderness searching for food and water? Are they not supposed to be in a garden that God has set up for them? So in those days, if you read the Bible, you'll realize most people, they live their age somewhere between 750 years, 900 years. So they have a long, long time to explain to many generations what they have actually done. And that tells you something very important. Someone says really well, guilt is the wound and shame is the scar. It has a long-lasting effect. It can haunt people for a long, long time. The overarching question is, well, how can we shake off the monkey of shame, especially when the guilt was really, really big? And I think you can find some answers in the book of Micah. Now, Micah, he is a rural prophet. It was at the time when the kingdom split into north and south. He's more on the south countryside prophet. And at that time, the people of Israel, they have been rebelling against God for over 500 years. So God has been tolerating them for 500 years. So they have been committed to a lot of wrongdoings over a very lengthy period of time. So you might be wondering, well, what have they done? Well, the leader of the country, they take advantage of the poor. They sold their land, which violating against the law in the Old Testament. They take advantage of the poor people. If you pay them, they preach a good message. They preach, whatever you do, you'll be blessed, rather than warning them for the crime that you have committed, for the sin that you have committed, God will punish you. So they also make the wealthier more wealthier, take advantage of the poor, and make the worship corrupted as well. So there are plenty of sins they have committed. 2 words to summarize: exploitation, exploitation, exploitation. It happened all the time through their history. And because these are the widespread sins, God said to them, for what you have done over such a lengthy period of time, He is going to sweep them out of their country, send them to a foreign land to be captive, to stay there as a punishment. Now, the amount of deception and injustice is unbelievable, to a point that the wise word on the street goes something like this. This is what it says in the book of Micah, chapter 7. Do not trust a neighbor. Put no confidence in a friend. Even with the woman who lies in your embrace, guard the words you should guard the words of your lips. For a son dishonors his father. A daughter rises up against her mother. A daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the members of his own household. But you can see the deception, the trust is so lacking there. It's absolutely crazy. Don't tell too much to your wife because you cannot trust her. Your children may disown you. Even the people who marry to your children may hurt you. So in other words, the whole household is a battlefield, it's a bloodbath. There's a lot of issues. Confidence, trust, they were zero currency. There's no value there. There's so much injustice, so much things happening there. Now, it was at this point, after this horrific scene, Micah, he personified the whole country of Israel to one person. There is a person in a dark room, a loser, completely defeated. He prayed to God, God, I sit in the darkness, and the Lord will be my light. My God will hear me because I have sinned against him. I will bear the Lord's wrath until he pleads my case and upholds my cause. He will bring me out into the light, and I will see his righteousness again. So there is one person there praying for the whole country, representing the whole nation, to pray to God, God, I have done something really wrong against you over a lengthy period of time. There is a lot of guilt, a lot of shame there. But can you hear me? Bring me your mercy and compassion. Save me. Bring light into darkness. Now, isn't it very strange? This is very strange. For someone who has done so many wrong things in his life over a lengthy period of time, how would you ask God to forgive you? Why would God forgive you in the first place if you have done so much things wrong for such a long time? What is the incentive that you can incentivize God to forgive you? And Micah gives us two answers for that. One reason is, who is a God like you, who pardons sins and forgives the transgression of the remnant of his inheritance? You do not stay angry forever, but delight to show mercy. You will again have compassion on us. The person who was praying, the book of Micah, he appeared. The ground for God's forgiveness, the ground for us for God's mercy is God's character. God is love. God is the one who loves, and his character will bring forgiveness to you. He appeals to God's character because he does not get angry forever. He has got mercy and compassion. Now, if you think about a normal human relationship, or if someone found guilty of doing something wrong against you, it will spark anger. Some people hold on to their anger for longer. Some people hold on to their anger for shorter. It's very normal in a normal human relationship. People hold on to their anger for a long time, and it can happen. But he's saying God is not like this. Sometimes it really depends who was the offender, how close are you to the offender, and what was the actual offense against you. That will shorten or lengthen how long you get angry for. But God has compassion. God forgives you. You know, if you talk about guilt and shame, guilt causes us anger. Shame also makes us angry as well. Guilt and shame, they are linked together. So guilt, it always rests on the offender. It never really spreads the guilt. But shame can be shared, can be carried by someone outside of the offender. Depends on how close you are. You know, after COVID, one thing you may or you may not notice is people outside of the court, they start to wear masks. The offender come out, the accused come out of the court, they wear masks. The family members or the closest friends of a girlfriend or boyfriend, they come out with the accused, they all wear masks. Why? Because there is a bit of shame there. They want to cover their face. They don't want you to see them. Now, back in 2003, when SARS swept across Hong Kong, one of the aftermaths was people at the court also wear masks. When they come out of the court, they start to wear masks to cover that shame. Guilt rests on the individual, but shame is contagious. It can be on people, it can be shared. So what is the solution then? How can we take away that mask of shame? And solution actually rests in God, how he dealt with our wrongdoings, how he dealt with our guilt. You know, the vast majority of the people, we carry at least two books. One book is our right doing, the right doings of everything we have done. The other book is the wrongdoing of everything else other people has done. Now, it's very fair. Now, the counselor will say to you, keep a book of right doings in your life because it brings positivity to you. It shows you your self-worthiness because we all have done something good and right and changed the community and changed the friends in our life. And that's very good. Keep it. That's fair enough. Why are we keeping the book of someone else's wrongdoings then? What is the purpose of that? Well, the purpose of that is very simple. When you have an argument with someone, that book becomes so handy. You can easily trample someone under your foot. Now think about the election. That's exactly what happened. Right? They keep the right doings of their own party and start to talk about the wrong doings of the other party. That's how politics work. That's what happened in the election. But God didn't do it that way. He said he will again have compassion on us. He will tread our sins underfoot and hurl all our iniquities into the depths of the sea. So what does it mean? Now, in the ancient world, they don't actually have submarine. They don't have sonar detector and things like that. They don't even have the service of Ocean Infinity to help them find MH370. So what does it mean? It's things that were sunk to the bottom. That means it's gone for good. That's what the writer is trying to tell us. Things that has been sunk to the bottom of the ocean is gone for good. That's how God dealt with our wrongdoings, deal with our guilt. Leave it to the bottom of the sea. No human beings can ever reach that again. That's the forgiveness of God. He said he will put it rest in the bottom of the ocean so it will not be touched again. That's how we deal with our book of wrongdoings. You know, the book of our wrongdoings, or even the book of someone else's wrongdoings, will make us feel shameful, will make us feel worthless. A good example may be a child or a father who is in the prison, or a wife from coming out of an abusive relationship, or a daughter coming out of an abusive mother. They all carry the shame from someone else's wrongdoing. Now, sometimes the book of our shortcomings may bring us shame as well. For example, failure to provide for the family, couldn't keep the family food, couldn't work enough to put the food on the table for the family. Sometimes the book of our own human errors, our misjudgment, will bring shame to our life. For example, a parent reversed their car on the driveway and killed their own children. There is shame always there. It doesn't have to come from human sins. It could simply come from our shortcomings, our inadequacy, or simply our own mistakes, unintentional errors. They all bring shame to us. And that shame devalue human beings, dehumanize us, make us feel we are useless and worthless. But there's a solution, and that is in God. God gives us the new identity. Micah appealed to the second reason. God is faithful to the people who have chosen him. God is faithful to those people who believe in him. He honors his promise. He honors his love. God loves all who are faithful to him. He can remove that overcast of shame in our life. He can help us to take away that monkey of shame over our shoulder, lighten our burden. Shame is the scar of the wound that will linger for a long time, but God can take it away. That visible and long-lasting scar is always there. And sometimes the voice of shame can make us feel very guilty. It dehumanizes us as human beings. The story of Louise Phillips, I mentioned that probably a while ago, and in a different context of the sermon. Louise Phillips is she was an actress, started back in the 1970s, and she's still alive. At the age of 15 years old, she already launched a career on screen. But at the age of about 15 years old, she was involved in a car accident, and then she became a paraplegic. And in those days, she would have been the only one in Australian on screen that is in wheelchair. You very rarely see people in wheelchair who has got disability actually on screen. She actually has a very rich and successful career on screen. So that hasn't happened on Christmas, Boxing Day. So her father was behind the wheels. So 14 years on, after the accident, she completed a course as a counselor with Lifeline. And at the time when she finished the course of forgiveness, she went home to write a letter to her father. So the verdict from the court at that time was, it was God's will the accident happened. It was no fault of anyone. But what happened is her father was living in the shadow of guilt, in the shadow of shame. He cannot get out of it. He was persecuting himself every Christmas day, every Boxing Day. So during Boxing Day, when the whole family come together, they share time together, but her father has to go away. So after she has done the course, she writes a letter to her father to ask him, let it go. You should not be persecuting yourself. After he received that letter, her father treated Boxing Day as a different day, just another day for the rest of his life. What a story we hear. When you come out of the shadow of your guilt, life has changed. You know, Jesus is the one who sank our book of guilt and shame and wrongdoing to the depths of the ocean, so no one can find it. Why are we holding on to that book of shame and guilt, our shortcomings, so dearly to our heart? I think that's a story that we can learn from there. If Jesus died on the cross, he freed us from our guilt. Why are we still holding on to our past? You know what the world's solution for our shame is? If you have done something wrong, you will be always in the hall of shame. You will be always there, and there's no return. That's the solution of the world. But for Jesus, he is the solution. He is the solution. The solution of Jesus is to sink our wrongdoings, sink our guilt to the bottom of the ocean, so we will not be rich again. It comes away from us. And I think that's very important for us to know. When we turn to Jesus, this means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone, and a new life has begun. It's very important. It was Jesus who gave us a new identity, who gave us a new value in our life. Don't let our past define us. Leave the past remains in the past. Let it go. Move forward and move on from where we are. And I think that's what the book of Micah is telling. When they pray to God, he appealed to God's character, his forgiveness, his commitment, his promise to his covenant. So 3 things I want you to take home this morning. God already sent our guilt to the depths of the ocean. Whether we are talking about the book of our wrongdoings, the book of our inadequacies, the book of our error, the book of misjudgment, the book of our shortcomings, is all gone. It's all sunk to the bottom of the oceans. Do not let our guilt, our shame, persecute us for life. We have to move on, for the Christ has already set us free.